I do think that it is important to discuss this, because this is completely unacceptable. It is absolutely, completely unacceptable. And what we've seen from, we've seen some posts, and it's a WNBA rotten to the core epidemic amongst people that are involved in this.
Have you seen what Jemele Hill just did? She posted a tweet about Caitlin Clark that sparked a major uproar, but when people called her out, she deleted it as if it never existed. Can you believe that? Now, you might be asking, asterisk, why does this even matter, asterisk? Well, it's not just about a single tweet. This is part of a troubling pattern in the sports media, particularly around the WNBA, where athletes like Caitlin Clark are often overlooked or treated unfairly. We're about to dive into why this is such a big issue, and trust me, you're going to want to hear the full story.
So this is a tweet that is floating around social media, and Off-Season Swag actually brought this up. He had this in the archives. He said Jemele Hill might have deleted that tweet, but the internet never forgot.
You won't believe what just went down in women's basketball. Jay Hill, a well-known sports journalist, set the internet on fire with a tweet about Caitlin Clark. But here's the twist. When people called her out, she didn't defend her words. Instead, she did something that's got everyone talking. So what did Hill say? Well, she basically suggested that Clark doesn't face the same challenges as other players, even comparing her situation to teammate Aaliyah Boston's. It almost felt like Hill was implying that Clark has it easy.
Now, what exactly did Jemele Hill say? She stated, I don't like to play the oppression Olympics, but had CC had to delete her social media account? But her teammate Aaliyah Boston. CC has given out a few hard shots herself, talked trash, jawed with the referee, and yet, anytime she is subjected to physical play, a hard foul, or trash talk, opposing players are absolutely villainized. She is not consistently subjected to Rachel Sayers, and whatever hate does experience, she is not told to tough up or that her feelings don't matter. She is not subjected to both sides, nor are people trying to justify any hatred against.
You might be thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a tweet, but here's the catch. Hill didn't just downplay Clark's challenges. She essentially ignored the hate and bullying Clark has been facing. It was like she was saying, asterisk go, Clark doesn't really have it that hard, asterisk, but that's clearly not the case. And then, when people called her out for it, what did Hill do? Did she apologize or clarify? No, she just deleted the tweet as if it never existed.
The reality is that this is a horrible tweet. This is an awful, awful tweet. So Jemele Hill, after being called out for that tweet today, what does she do? Does she, post being like, even something like protect women in sports, and take down the tweet? Does she keep the tweet up, quote tweet it, and be like, I apologize for this, I was evidently wrong, I hope Caitlin Clark's okay, and I apologize for not, I don't know, something along those lines? Or does she take down the tweet, mention nothing, and pretend like it didn't happen? Of course she did the latter. Of course she did the—
Can you believe the nerve of that? It's as if she thought deleting the tweet would make it all go away, and everyone would just forget. Now, you're probably asking, asterisk, why would someone like Hill, a respected journalist, do something like this, asterisk? That's exactly what we're trying to understand. Is there some personal bias against Clark? Or is there something deeper happening here?
Somebody said, as I've said before, I wish Caitlin Clark would get attacked Monica Seals style by a crazed fan. I hate that YouTube is so much. Yes, I said it. I hate her because she's white. Just like white people hated us because black people during slavery, Jim Crow, you give hate, you get it.
Wow, someone once said, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I wish Caitlin Clark would face the same treatment Monica Seles endured, attacked by a crazed fan. That kind of sentiment? I hate it. And YouTube, with all its chaos, amplifies these feelings. Yes, I'll admit it, I dislike her. But why? Because she's white, just as white people once despised us during the Jim Crow era simply for being black. You see, hate is a cycle. You give it, you get it. That's the ugly truth.
We're allowed as humans get things wrong. We're allowed, we can make mistakes. We're all gonna make mistakes. We're all absolutely gonna make mistakes when it comes to what we say. But the reality is that I think that it's better to own mistakes than it is to ignore them and continue to go with the bad.
The real kicker. Hill's tweet isn't just a one-off. It highlights a bigger issue with how Clark is treated. While people claim she gets as much hate as anyone, she's the one expected to address and fix it. And the WNBA community's response: silence, excuses, and some seriously questionable behavior.
That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter. The reality of this situation is that the most important thing is that the players in the WNBA are safe. But the reality is, for these people, it doesn't matter as long as it's the players they like.
When other players face criticism, WNBA insiders are quick to show outrage and support. But for Clark, nothing but silence. And don't think they didn't notice, they absolutely did. In fact, some commentators even went so far as to justify the hate Clark's been receiving. Unbelievable, right?
I just want y'all haters to know whatever y'all decide to put online, it's going to stay, bro. Like, people is going to screenshot what you put. Like, you can't tweet and delete. You can't none of that, bro. Like, it's going to stay online, and you're going to be held accountable for the actions that you put out on the internet, bro.
Here's where it gets really interesting and infuriating. There's a clear pattern. Every time Clark breaks a record or earns praise, the criticism against her skyrockets like clockwork. You'd expect her success to be celebrated, but no, it's open season on Clark. So, is there an agenda against her? We dug deeper, and what we uncovered will blow your mind. There's a toxic narrative swirling around her, and it's downright unreal. One analyst even said, the reality is that bullying is okay if it's against Caitlin Clark. Let that sink in. How messed up is that?
Texas man has been charged with felony stalking after he allegedly sent numerous threats and sexual charged messages to Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark. Michael Lewis, the suspect in question, traveled to Indianapolis from Texas. Authorities identified him through his IP address.
But wait, we're just getting started. The way WNBA insiders treat Clark compared to other players isn't just unfair, it's jaw-dropping. This isn't a one-off, it's systemic bias. These so-called professionals, who constantly preach about mental health and athlete safety, suddenly lose their empathy when it comes to Clark. And now, let's address something serious that's being swept under the rug. Caitlin Clark has a stalker. Yes, you heard that right. A man drove all the way from Texas to Indiana just to get to her. It's not just creepy, it's absolutely terrifying. And the media's reaction, shockingly muted.
Of her, but this man physically drove from Texas to Indiana to possibly inflict harm on Caitlin Clark. And y'all quiet. Y'all real quiet. Now, I'm pretty sure ESPN is going to speak about this. Fox is going to speak about this. Content creators is going to speak about this. But where is people of the WNBA? Me?
Can you imagine how terrifying that must be for her? Now, you'd think this would be headline news, major outlets covering it nonstop. But no, it's like they're pretending it's not even happening. And the reason why will make your blood boil. We compared how the media covered similar situations with other athletes, and the difference is shocking. Remember when Angel Reese faced a similar issue? The media was all over it. But for Clark, crickets. Why the double standard? It's like they're playing favorites, and Clark's getting the short end of the stick. And here's the worst part. Some people in the WNBA media circle are actually downplaying the threat. Unbelievable.
Like all of these things need to be documented, and that's something where there has to be a department within the WNBA, especially being a women's sports league, where they can have their own private investigators on these people and be aware if these people are coming into arenas, because I promise you, as the league continues to grow, it is something that unfortunately comes with being a celebrity.
Can you believe one analyst actually said, for people to sit up here and wish bad upon Caitlin Clark is just sad to me? Sad? It's more than sad. It's absolutely disgusting. We're talking about a young woman's safety here, and these so-called professionals are treating it like it's no big deal. But it gets worse. The WNBA and its media reps are staying silent too. What happened to all that talk about player safety and mental health? Apparently, it doesn't apply to Clark. The message they're sending is clear. Some players matter more than others, and that's not okay.
Media wasn't very welcoming to Caitlin Clark when she first arrived in this league. There was a lot of race bait content, and a lot of people pulled the race card when it came to Caitlin Clark. Now, me, I never let that agenda stop me from liking her or wanting to see Caitlin Clark succeed being a black man in the media space.
We took a deep dive into why this is happening, and trust me, the truth behind this silence is going to challenge everything you thought you understood about sports media. It's not just about Caitlin Clark anymore. It's about the system as a whole and how it treats certain players. You assumed the WNBA was focused on player well-being? Think again. we explore their so-called commitment to mental health, and what we uncovered regarding Caitlin Clark's situation will leave you speechless. It's almost as if they've abandoned their own playbook when it comes to supporting her.
Hey, this is not something that I'm saying is like that these are awful people. It is just been a toxic narrative that people have bought into, and it is absolutely horrible.
Let's break this down. The WNBA loves to boast about supporting players, but when it comes to Caitlin Clark, it's silence. Take a look at their official statements on player safety and compare them to how they're treating Clark. It's hypocrisy at its finest. It's as if they're playing favorites. Clark's name isn't on the list, and the WNBA leadership has said nothing on her behalf. Why is that? It doesn't make sense. Why does it feel like your blood is boiling? Because it's a disgrace. They're too scared to make waves, even when one of their brightest stars is being mistreated.
That's the whole thing when it comes to the Caitlin Clark issue, is that bullying is okay if it's against Caitlin Clark, and that is something that the WNBA needs to prove otherwise. They need to prove otherwise. Mental health matters unless it's Caitlin Clark. Bullying is okay unless it's Caitlin Clark. If you say anything negative about any other player, the WNBPA will go for your media credentials.